Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we'll be talking about centre backs. Yes, a video mainly talking about centre backs because Real Madrid have an injury crisis, as we know, um, at centre back, especially now that Eder Militao is injured. um, Alaba is still injured, and we really have no idea when he'll be back, and also what his fitness level will be when he comes back, because he's been out for about a year now, nearly a year at least. He was injured, I think it was around December last year against Villarreal in that 4-1 win. um, but we don't know what Alaba can bring as of now, because if he's fit now, he goes back onto the pitch and plays, you might not get a good player in Alaba. You might not get at least 75% out of him. You might not even get that. So would you rather play Alaba and get maybe 50%, 40% of Alaba, or send another centre back? And then obviously Rudiger, he can't play every game on his own. You've got Traoré, who would be an option, but he's injured for a month, so that's great. Carvajal, who did play centre back last season for a little bit, has an ACL as well, just like Militao. So then you're left with Mendy, whom I wouldn't trust at centre back because I don't believe he's physical enough. And I think he's better at left back, especially when you're playing Liverpool. If you play Mendy centre back, that means that you are leaving Fran Garcia up against Mo Salah, and we'll get into that game obviously in the next few weeks when the game does come round. But you can't play Mendy at centre back, and next you're left with Jesus Vallejo, who isn't good enough, shouldn't be here, should be gone, but he's here for the paycheck and he just sat on the bench every game. And Raul Asensio, who actually played very well, I would say, against Osasuna, came on, did well defensively, got the nice assist for Bellingham. But he's young. He is obviously still part of the Castilla, but he will be used with the first team at least until January. Maybe slightly, before January, maybe December, when Traoré comes back, maybe Lucas Vazquez comes back, and there is numbers at the back. But look, I just think that the centre back problem should have been addressed in the summer. I think that the fans knew that it was a problem, that we wanted Lenny Yoro and we didn't get him. He went to Manchester United, and it was clear that a centre back was wanted and needed. But the club were like, okay, we didn't get Lenny Yoro, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait maybe for another summer, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. We're gonna rely on Rudiger, Militao, and injured Alaba, and Jesus Vallejo. Going to the season, that's what we had. Now, Vallejo was never going to be good enough anyway, so he was and is out of the equation. 3 centre backs, 1 is injured now for the rest of the season, and you've brought in an academy player, but he can't play every game either. So you've got Rudiger and Asensio right now as your main centre backs, and they can't play every game on their own. They need rest. So you're basically left with, put yourselves in a position where you're screwed. So I do hope that whoever it is that Real Madrid go out to look for in January and sign, because we need to sign someone at centre back, I hope that whoever it is a player that isn't just a temporary fix. And we'll get into that, because I think that if you're going to buy a centre back, if you're going to get a centre back, and not many teams are willing to sell in January because it's the winter market, you're halfway through the season, you're not going to be able to buy a player for cheap. So if you're going to pay a hefty fee for a player, you may as well pay for a player who is young, who is proven, but is good enough, right? He's young, but he's good enough, but he has the potential to be here for the next 5 to 10 years. Almost like a new Varane. Um, but we'll get into that. But here is Mate Moreto breaking Real Madrid had already decided to sign one, if not two, central defenders between January and next summer. The urgency has increased. I don't think you'll get two in January. I think one will be considered lucky because we know Real Madrid, we know Florentino Perez. He is not a guy who does many signings in the winter/January market. So if we get one, you'll be lucky. And that's how the club is run. That's how the club has always been run under Florentino Perez. So you have to look at it from that perspective. This is from AS. Just in, Real Madrid could sign a free agent right now and he would be allowed to play right away. However, the club prefers to wait until January to make a decision. Look, it doesn't sound great, but the club is not going to come out and say a guaranteed signing will be made in January, because what if you don't get a player? You look stupid, wouldn't you? So I think that although it sounds like making a decision does sound like, oh, they might not decide to go for a centre back, I think that you have to. I think that with the amount of injuries at the back, you cannot leave Rudiger and Asensio isolated. And if you have seen Tchouaméni's performances this season, he can't play at DM because he's not been good enough. What makes you think that he'll be good enough to play at centre back, right? And Mendy as well. And then next, the matter of signing a centre back is now urgent. Negotiations and approaches are already underway from Jose Felix Diaz there. So that's from the club side. Now, who is target number one that we've been heavily linked and rumored with for the past 3 days, right? Here it is. Sergio Ramos' return does not appear likely from AS. Look, I think every Real Madrid fan loves Sergio Ramos. If you don't love Sergio Ramos, you're not a Real Madrid fan. That's simple. He's a club captain. He is, in my opinion, the best centre-back of all time. But some would say it's Maldini. Some would say it's Franz Beckenbauer. Right? But I think Ramos is. And I wouldn't say the way he left was a bad relationship. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't good. But it wasn't, to a point where it was bad. But I just think that the fact that Real Madrid let him go means that Real Madrid have thought, you will not be good enough for us in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? You are at your age where you need to probably leave now than later. So I can't see him coming back, not because of the relationship being broken. I still think that the club has a lot of respect to Ramos and vice versa. But I think that the fact that Sergio Ramos is at his age, he has not had a club since the summer, after he left Sevilla. He has not played a game in months. Yes, he has gone and trained on his own, and you look at his Instagram, he's constantly doing training and running and gym and whatever, right? But I do believe that it comes to a point where you have to look for the future. If you sign Ramos, what does that mean? What does that mean for the long-term solution? It doesn't mean anything. So I think that, as I said earlier, if you're going to bring someone in, I would rather someone for the next 5 to 10 years who has got potential than go back to a former player. And also, if Ramos is not able to play as the way he did in the last 5-10 years, I don't think anyone, and I certainly don't want his reputation and legacy to be tarnished. So I think it's best for Ramos, it's best for the club to not proceed with this deal. Although it's a free deal, and there were, I think it was Guti who said that he would be willing to not have a contract, like not get paid, but I don't think he'll just play for free. I think you will give him some money, and there will be something in there. Of course, maybe a some sort of bonus, something like that. But it's not about the financial issue for me with Ramos. I just think that his time has passed, and it's not really wise to go back. For me, I think there are certainly fans out there who are nostalgia and want to see him back. I completely understand, but from my perspective and opinion, I wouldn't do it. But certainly, agree to disagree, right? Next, I'm not happy about this. Justin Laporte would be Real Madrid's preferred option. Okay, before we talk about Aymeric Laporte, we actually talked about him about 3 years ago. I remember I did the video, right? It was Varane leaving, and we were looking at Pau Torres, I think Laporte, if I'm not wrong, and Koundé. Now, funny enough, Koundé is at Barcelona now, right? That's funny. Pau Torres has left Villarreal, and Laporte has gone to the Saudi League. So, look how fast 3 years can change, right? But I would not like to see this happen, because of this, right? Aymeric Laporte is highly rated at Real Madrid, but his signing will be very complicated from Rodra. But why? Aymeric Laporte and Real Madrid are not in contact. Al Nassr are asking for 30 million euros, something that goes against Real Madrid's policy of signing veterans for this amount, from Jose Felix Diaz there. Look, 30 million euros for Laporte. If you told me this 3 years ago, I would say, screw it. Why not? But now look, I just think that he hasn't played at the highest level of football. He's gone to the Saudi League for the cash. It would be not unwise to bring him in, because as I said, it doesn't really, solve the long-term issues. He could be here for a year, maybe two, but it doesn't solve the long-term issues. And I just don't think that if he comes back, he will suddenly be a miracle. I don't think he will be the best centre back in the world. I don't think he'll even be top 5 in the world. So some would argue even top 10. But he's a good player. But I just think, look, good player. He's enjoying life there. Keep him there. And 30 million euros for him is not worth it as of now. But let me know what thoughts are down below. I think there are certainly some fans out there who would like this deal with Aymeric Laporte. But the final one is the most interesting one here. I think that everyone expect this, because Transfermarkt report this a couple of weeks ago, I believe. But Real Madrid's favorite centre-back option is Castello Luqueba from Jose Felix Diaz. And Real Madrid have been following Castello Luqueba since his time at Lyon. The club believes he has the potential to lead Real Madrid's defense from Rodra. I like this deal. This is what I'm saying, right? You compare Luqueba to Ramos and to Laporte. The difference is, obviously Ramos is a legend. He's probably the best centre back in the world, in history, at least top 3 I would say of all time. But he's getting on. He's old. And Laporte has gone to Saudi, in a sense, to retire, to get the bag, which some would respect, some wouldn't respect, right? That is a different story in itself. But for Luqueba, I'm pretty sure he's 24, 23 or 24. He's young. I want to say he's in his... It would look stupid of me if he's like 18 or something, wouldn't it? He's 21, actually. So I look stupid, but he's 21. If you bring him in, 5 years, definitely you can get 5 years out of him. 10 years, you can get 10 years out of him. In 10 years' time, Luqueba will be 31. That's okay. I think that's pretty much okay. Look, he's French. What do we know about him? He could probably do a job at right back as well. I suppose, but I just think that for the long-term future, I think you have to look for a player who is in their 20s at least, and I do believe early to mid 20s, and I think that Lukeba is a good option. But let me know what thoughts are down below. Hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. Hit the notification, subscribe to the channel on already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.